Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm back. I'm sorry about the delay, but I fell sick and I was pretty damn ill for a while. For about a week, I was knocked out cold. Couldn't do anything, couldn't work. So once I did get better, I had to actually catch up with a lot of stuff at work, and um, and so I didn't have time to do much. But I've been really wanting to get back into making these videos uh, and keep up the schedule that I had set out for myself. So I'm back now and I want to pick up where we left off. So in the last video, we started talking about explicit weights and I showed some methods. Um, I showed one method. I showed how we could use an explicit weight to explicitly wait for an element to be located, right? And we checked out the alert success. And once it appeared after after we put everything in here and clicked the button, once the alert success appeared, we would get the text and then yeah. So that was an example of an explicit wait. And Selenium has quite a few cool methods for you to try all this stuff out. And if you recall, you can just go to until, right? And with until, you see all the different methods that are available to you, and you should definitely spend some time with these and experiment. Eventually, as I do more videos, I hope to explore some more of these methods, um, and so that you guys can see them in action. But that'll be for another time. There's one more thing though I want to add about explicit weights, and it's this guy right here. It's this part about defining a custom condition, because sometimes you won't find the condition that you want amongst the ones that they provide for you. So so in that case, a custom condition is the best way to go about it. So I want to get started with that now. All right. So what we're gonna do is, hmm, what can we look for? We're gonna so element located. We don't really need to do that. How about that button that gets enabled, right? So we could. It was possible to actually use an explicit wait for element is enabled. So when this button became enabled, then you would click it. And I think that I already went over that, but let's try it the other way now. Let's try it with the custom condition way. So very easy. You just do driver wait, but instead of using the until method, you just immediately fire the write a callback function, and then you return something that is true or false. So it has to be a boolean. It can't be like here you couldn't do find element because find element does not return a boolean. It returns an actual element wrapped in a promise. So you would get an error. But if you did, so here I have submit button stored in a variable. That's the button that we want to click eventually. But first, we want to check if it's enabled. So returned submit button is enabled, and that's it. The the last thing you need to do is set a timeout. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 10 seconds. Okay, so this is another way of defining an explicit wait, and that's just by waiting for something to return a truthy value and setting a timeout using the wait method. So it's pretty straightforward. So right now, what do we have? Fire up, go to the address, find the button stored in a variable, then type in the input, and this is not gonna validate because this is not a full email address, so the button won't be enabled once it's sending these keys. But then it's gonna, okay, so actually I need to, we'll do this here. So once it types in the keys, it's gonna say wait for the submit button to be enabled, and then and then click it. And then we're going to wait for the alert success. So what's going to happen here is this won't work at first because I'm not going to put in the proper email address. So it's going to wait 10 seconds and you'll see that instead of clicking, it's just going to hang there. And then I'm going to complete it manually and you'll see that then this condition will become true and then it'll move on to this line of code here and click the button. So let me save this and let's try this out. All right, see, now it's waiting. It's waiting. So boom. As soon as I put in a valid email address, the button became enabled and it clicked it, and then we got this. So it worked. And that's literally it. That's literally at its most basic how this custom explicit wait would work. Let me try something else. Because is enabled is a method, and you can use that. You can actually use is enabled um, with until. So what about something? Let me give you an example of something that there are no methods for. Okay, so this button here, um, blah@blah.com. This button here, as you can see, it's not when it's not enabled, it changes color. So what is the color? Button oh, here. Okay. So the color is, oh, it's the opacity that changes. Okay. So when the button is not enabled, the opacity changes so that, because underneath, I believe, yeah, underneath this blue, the color is actually gray. So if the opacity is not 100%, then it grays this blue out. Okay. But then once we have blah.com, then it reverts back to the default opacity, which should be 1. Awesome. So what we're gonna do is define a custom weight. Instead of checking that the submit button is enabled, we're gonna check that that the opacity is 1. Once the opacity is 1, then we'll know that it's enabled, and then we can click. So we're gonna do it. Which way should we do this? We're gonna do it like this. Submit button, and then get CSS value. That's a WebDriver method. We can look it up. Get CSS value. So this is how you ask WebDriver to look for any CSS value that you're looking for, that you're seeking, and you can it'll be very handy in real tests. But right now we're just using it for a simple example because we're going to get the opacity, since WebDriver does not have an opacity method, I believe. Nope, it does not. So that's why we're going to need a custom weight condition, because in our test we want to verify that that works, that this opacity thing works, that the opacity changes after the button is enabled. And you know what? That's why Actually, yeah, let's keep doing it this way. So once you get the CSS value, then function the result of the get CSS, and then we will return result should equal 1. All right, and then we'll wait a bit. So so this should work, because at first, right, at first it's gonna send this and nothing will change. So the wait kicks in and it's gonna wait up to 15 seconds for the color to change, for the opacity to change. Oh, I forgot to put opacity. Very important. So here you can specify anything. You can specify background color. You can specify width or anything. But right now, we're just going to check the opacity. Save this. And let's go. Please make this work. All right. At mail.com. Oh, what happened? It didn't do it. Let's see what the error is. So, wait timed out. Huh. Let's console log the result. So, oh, of course, it's going to be a string. It's not going to be an actual number value, but that's why in this case it's better to do the double equals, so that it's truly and not like a strict true or false. So, okay, try this again. Sorry. Ah, damn it. Boom, now it worked. You see? So now it waited. The CSS value will be returned as a string. So if you're going to use triple equal sign, then it should be like that. Okay. So that's it pretty much. That's how an explicit wait would work. And basically it will rerun, it'll keep running this function until you get until you get a true value. And it can be very handy, come in very handy depending on certain tests. So that's all I have for today on this topic. And in the next video, we're going to step things up a little bit and start using, I believe, Mocha, and start setting up and structuring a test on this page only. And then once we got a setup going, we're going to start exploring these other pages here. This thing loads so slow, but that's good actually for practice. All right, guys, see you in the next video.